thinking true or square. Yeah, I'm done with that. I don't want to go back to any more of that. I'm getting back to this channel, okay? I cannot download any of my videos, so if you want to see episode 8 and 9, well, if you're a SpongeBob fan, then go watch those two. I can't believe I made a review of those. Well, I wanted to fix things up for you guys. Since I'm back at this channel with still 7 subscribers. Well, I'm going to start off with a series that people have done and gotten lots of views, so hopefully this works. Let's do Skylanders. Now, just before I start reviewing this, I just want to make it clear that this series of Skylanders is like a big deal. But along with anything else, overall, this series is started off with a lot of merchandise. In fact, well, where to begin with merchandise? For if you get... Because the whole point of why they actually made so many of things of merchandise... Well, that is mostly because of the fact that our own things that are in the video game require lots of stuff. Now, if you're a fan of Spyro, you would understand of who this would be. In fact, the first game is basically called Spyro's Adventures. So basically, we're starting off having a crossover, you see? Because it's like one of those things where you have to think, hey, wait a minute. I series make a bit suck. How about we add in like a character that's a bit famous from video games? Yeah, sure, let's do that. In other words, the show basically started off having it be about Spyro. In fact, he's basically in every single starter pack in the start. Yeah, well, yeah. But don't worry, eventually they rip him off anyways. So, poor Spyro. A purple dragon, huh? Well, yeah. Let's just get to the merchandise. Right. But in other words, this isn't just about him. To help it off of the series, they seem to add other characters. Like a lot. Not more than 10, just like over 34. But if you actually think that this would actually be over, well, you need to collect a lot of stuff. Well, there goes my PlayStation. Well, I guess I can get used to this. Although, in other words, if you're actually one of those people that like to play with toys, in fact, these things are basically a toy. That's what this whole gimmick of this thing is. But not exactly. All you have to do is just put it on a portal. Like so. In other words, the portal that I know in the game requires a USB, but I'm not going to show that because I just hated that. I didn't really like it that much. I prefer the Giants version better because it may be the same thing, but at least it actually has a cable to put in the portal. So in other words, you put the thing on the portal and then it gets on the screen, which is a pretty good improvement, I gotta say. But if you, like I said, if you actually use these things too much with your children, you can end up having them a bit broken. If you know what I mean. Now, before we get to the gameplay, let me just get everything. Let me just get all this bloody stuff on my desk. God. I'll be right back. And before we get started, what you need is just, well, the game on the Wii. So what you need on the Wii, you just need the game. So at the start, what you need is... sorry about that. So at the start, what you need is, well, the game and controller and the nunchuck. Let's put this away now. Oops, can't read my poster. And let's deal with this out later. God, why? But anyways, to start off with our journey, we have to go from some old guy trying to, well, tell us about this amazing place. I gotta say, this place is pretty good. But somehow he has to die. Which is, well, kind of sad, because of the core of light. Or in other words, we have our great hero Spyro around, instead of, a kangaroo or something, defending the core of light. But that doesn't get us at an end at all. Instead, we have... Oops. Here's another filler note. We get the great known powerful guy known as Chaos. AKA... the annoying brat who can't stop talking to himself of being evil. Yeah, that kind. And this may be a joke to you, but they actually made the stupidest thing they could find. And you know what that is? It turns out this super evil guy is... Ugh, an annoying brat? Oh, come on. Really? This would have been a good laugh at the end of the game, but this is not something to enjoy. In fact, I already knew that I was just getting bored to death of this. And after one Master Ian dies, sadly, our things come to us. For the great Master Eon has come to us. Well, when he dies, he sends all of his great heroes known as the Skylanders when they die. When they die in battle. Sadly, our heroes travel around the world to our world, even though they're trying to tell kids that the Skylanders that I bought were alive because they crash landed onto our planet. Say, wait a minute. What's that noise? Wait a minute. Ah! What the hell? Enough of anything else. It's pretty much at the start of the game, you only get to play as the main character. Well, that's okay, I guess. But for some people that are like a Spyrovan, which is aka PlayStation, you would actually get a bit unhappy with this. Which is understandable. And I gotta say, the characters in the game are not very good. And yes, it's understandable that. However, Flynn, also known as the guy in... Well, this is not Flynn. For there be many characters in the area, as you may know it. something kind of be a bit forgettable, I gotta say. And yeah, like I said, Flynn is right with it. Right, the person that was wearing the guy is pretty much in every kind of game. If you know if you know what I mean. And Care and the person known as Callie, which be in mostly every game for the Skylander series, is around too, but only for you to seek challenges was required by, you know, all this things every single Skylander. Yep. But overall, the levels get a bit okay. But once you get past, and there's lots of ones to explore. There's life, and there's magic, and there's also well, undead, tech, water, earth, air, and there's also tech. Overall, there's like eight elements, which are basically the whole theme of what we have to collect. We have to collect a thing that is to do with the element that we have of our Skylander, or I mean, as you count as 8 we need to put in the game. To add to our core of light. And yes, that's quite right. But overall, it was like quite a lot of levels. It's mostly about over 20, 22, or 23 levels you must complete. Which mention you have to go around meeting lots of characters, like I said. Yeah. And the fun thing about this is that Skylanders that have been from the next series on, you can actually use. Until you get the 5th one. So Skylanders that are actually in this game can actually also be used in the game as well. So Skylanders that are in this series through series 1 to 4 can also be used in the game. Even if it's like unless it's a different character in this series, you can still use a Series 2 Spyro, a Series 2 Trigger Happy, or like a Season 4 Gilgrunt. Yeah. But honestly, this is alright. Now, let me just get to business. Let's continue on with our Eon adventure. Of having Master Eon be with us for about a few chapters, I gotta say. But non-stop, I want me to fight Chaos to get the element. Well, also we have to when we fight him, he just talks always the normal, usual way. Yeah, doesn't that feel okay? But really, there's not really any different bosses besides fighting a giant boulder. But it's alright. But in other words, when we get to the boss fight, it gets a bit, really hard. For if you can say that you lose Skylanders, well then. The boss is pretty hard. It took so many characters for me to beat him. But when you beat him, well, yeah, that just ends, and then you have the Core of Light. Very welcome. And we won't wait, you can actually the game end. You can go on good trials that, like I said, that someone, I kind of forgot the name, said. And you can also do battle rating with your friends, and get an upgrade with the pixie lady. And, yeah. But in other words, when we get to the boss fight, it gets a bit, well, really hard. For, like, if you can say that you lose Skylanders, well then. The boss is pretty hard. It took, like, so many characters for me to beat him. But when you beat him, well, yeah, that just ends, and then you have the Core of Light. Very welcome. And we won't wait, you can actually the game end. You can go on good trials that, like I said, that someone, I kind of forgot the name, said. And you can also do battle rating with your friends, and get an upgrade with the pixie. So, that's basically how the story pretty much ends. But that does not mean that it's the end of this journey. Because there is still more to come of this series. And I will go through many, many more ways to get my money. Oh, and yeah. So if I ever need to buy any more of the Skylanders, I'll have to say goodbye to my consoles. Right. Alright. Well, if you hope. But overall, this game is quite fun. Yeah. So, yeah. So I pretty much just give Skylander Spyros Adventures well, I think I might give it like a 6 out of 10. Even though and I gotta say, some YouTubers may have said that will be a 6 out of 10. Because I get it. And well, if you think this counts as well, then you're correct. And the issues of having to have to buy merchandise and going through a lot. And yeah, but overall, this is an okay game. And yeah, but if I was like a Spyro fan or something, I think. Well, I think this might be the second least best of Spyro series. Because I've heard of the Year of the Dragon, and it's kind of stupid. Yes, the Year of the Dragon, yeah. But this series has started off with having a purple dragon, and that's quite alright. Now, I'm gonna put all this. Well, guess I'll use this instead. Speed, huh? Oh, you're back. Alright. Well, see ya.